So here is my JVC double cassette deck. It has no line fuse in it for overcurrent protection. And as you can see, it's UL listed without any overcurrent protection in it. Okay, so first thing we'll do is we'll take the top off. And as you can see, the power comes in the cord, comes straight to the transformer without any overcurrent protection of any kind. So we'll take a look at our plug here. This one is polarized, and the neutral side has that white line in it. So we're going to look over here and look for the one with the white line, and the one with the white line is on this side. So we're going to cut the one over here on this side to go to the fuse block. And it'll go right down in here. And we'll cut this little zip tie off. And we'll have to go and get our sponge wet. Okay, so we'll get our stuff out here. We're going to need a screw, a nut, and this is the fuse block I'm going to be using. It's going to fit right in there perfectly. So I'll bend these little terminal things down to make it easy to sand. This will help me give a nice solder flow through on this. Okay, so we got our block sanded down here some. Get a piece of wire out. And we'll use a piece of 18 and we'll come up from there, so I'll cut it about right here. I'll just cut a little bit more so I'm not short. And I will bring the camera over here for the showing you the soldering. I'm going to turn my iron up. Okay, so we're going to use some 4060 rosin core solder. I'll strip a little bit off the end here. Bring it in through the hole on the bottom here. Make sure. First I'll twist the strands together. I'll come in through the bottom. Make sure all the strands come through. Use my pliers, flatten it down a little bit so I get a nice that top of the unit there works pretty good for a little support there while I'm soldering it, so I clean my iron with the sponge. I put a little solder on it here. I'll make sure this is all perfectly straight. This is rosin core solder. And there is a beautiful clean solder joint. Okay, I'm going to let that cool a bit. There's the bottom. And I'll strip the cord side here. I'll get the lock in my vise again down in here. Bring it out just a little bit. Twist the strands together. Make sure all the strands come up through the hole there. And we'll solder this connection. I'll tin my iron before I go under there. There is a beautiful, nice, clean solder joint. Okay, and I'll turn it over and I'll let you take a look at the bottom there. You can see both sides. 1, 2. Okay, I'll use my solder pump. I'll clean the solder off of this here. And I'll get this wire off of here. I'll move this one over so I don't burn it. Grab it nice and tight. There. I'll take my pump again and get the excess solder off of there. I'll get this side pumped off. Okay, so this is going to go down in here like this. And it's going to be screwed in down here. Okay, I'm going to bend these terminals up so that they stay away from the metal chassis here. I'll bring this down in here. That one will go here. Okay, so I'll clip a little bit more off of this here. Okay, so I'm going to take this wire. I'm going to strip it a little bit longer. Make sure I don't break any strands off. I'll bring the insulation up, there it is, so that the insulation is up butted close to the solder connection. I'll bring this back down, get all my strands down nice and neat. I'll take the pliers and squeeze them all in nice, and I'll wrap them back up around the other way. have to use my little screwdriver here to pull the strands back up over here. Alright, so I'm going to push them up and bring them over. I'll look on this side, make sure everything all looks nice. Okay, so I'll just take my pliers and flatten everything down so it's nice and neat. Clean my tip. I'll tin my iron here, and I'll come over here without melting the insulation on the wires. I'll let that cool. Okay, so I had to loosen this transformer up because I had to flip it up, and I'll show you what happened here. See how soldering the large terminal there kind of ruined that solder joint there? So I'm going to have to resolder that. Tin my iron here. I'll come around and I'll pump that out. Clean my tip again. And I'll resolder this here. Tin my iron a little bit. There we go. We got a nice clean solder joint there now. And I'll tin the iron and turn it off. There you can see all three of my solder joints there. Okay, so now I'll be able to screw the transformer back down. Let's make sure I don't have any solder balls laying on this board that could short something out. nut driver and my screwdriver to get this nice and straight. Everything's all nice and straight. Okay, we gotta get our zip tie back in here. This wire back out of the way of the put our zip tie back around here like it was originally from the factory. I'll put this part where it was originally. And now I'll show you why I put these fuses in. See those rectifier diodes and power capacitors there? If they short out, it can start drawing a lot of current. Okay, these are your typical house fuses, a 20 amp and a 15 amp. And if people put the wrong size fuse in the fuse box because they keep blowing fuses, they'll put a 30 in. And see how tiny the little filament is in this fuse that we're putting in the tape deck? If those components shorted out, like those diodes I showed you, and the capacitor, it will blow this fuse here long before this fuse can blow, or this one. And without this fuse, while it's taking time for these to burn out, it could be getting the transformer very hot. It can short out the windings inside. It can also possibly make the chassis live, where it can be a shock hazard. And the line cord is nowhere near rated for a 15 or 20 amps. So while it's taking time to burn out the house fuse, there's a possibility of it melting the power cord and shorting out and possibly starting a fire in your house.